Hey, disc golfers, welcome to Caddy Chat with Jake and Josh. I'm your host, Jake Robertson, joined as always by Josh Wood. We're excited to have you back with us, back in the studio this week after being on the course last week.
That was nice, though.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Episode 22 today. What do we got for him?
Oh, we're going to take a look back at the Throw Down the Mountain that happened this past weekend. We will recap the West Coast Cup a little bit, make some predictions for Music City Open. And got one little topic we'll talk about at the end, but it should be a short episode this week.
Yeah. Actually, though, it should be a shorter
for
episode.
Real.
So lock yourselves in for a couple minutes. Enjoy what we have to say.
Yeah.
First, let's recap Throw Down the Mountain, like you said. Kind of the bigger A-tier tournament from the past weekend.
Yeah.
On a Florida course that was put up for sale, and then Paul Macbeth and Dylan Cease of the Chicago White Sox swooped in, purchased the property. They're going to keep it a full-time disc golf course. Well, they're going to keep it and make it a full-time disc golf course.
Yeah, right now it's only open 1 month a year, 4 weeks.
Yeah, 3 or 4 weeks.
So they're going to break it wide open. I'm sure there's a lot of people down there excited about that.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. I know that's a stalwart event in that area, and a lot of people from around the country look forward to going to it every year. So it's cool that they'll be able to continue that. I'm sure Paul will make some professional changes to the course.
He's already said so.
Which is a good thing, because there are a couple holes where you watch and you're like, yeah, that's a fun shot, fun to see the best, the better players in the world throw it, but at the same time,
it's just not a good hole.
No. So that'll be cool to see once he gets a chance to do that. But yeah, the event, Paul's property, he's the owner, and he won.
Yeah, go figure. He's
also won there plenty of times before, so it's not a fluke or it's not a surprise.
It's not random. Yeah.
No.
No, he wins a lot.
Who challenged him though? Kind of was in contention for most of the weekend.
I was excited actually the first day to be able to watch Johnny McRae battle.
Yeah.
And for the first 10 or 12 holes, he was keeping up there with Paul until Paul got the eagle, it seems like. And that's where Johnny kind of fell off and ended up with a 4-stroke difference that day. But the guys that were up there all weekend were Sullivan Tipton and Joseph Anderson. Thomas Gilbert came back at the end to catch up and to get 4th place, but it was really those three that were battling it out most of the weekend.
And Joseph Anderson respectively asked the commentary team to call him Joey Buckets.
Joey Buckets.
Because he made his putts, and he did make his putts. So respect to you, Joey Buckets.
Yeah.
The one guy I was excited to watch was Sully Tipton. I got a chance to talk to him a couple weeks back for some Ledgestone stuff.
Oh, nice.
Good guy. Young kid still up and coming in the sport, but he's got a lot of talent. So it was cool to see him get to go toe-to-toe with somebody of Macbeth's caliber. And, honestly, it came down to a couple young mistakes as far as landing zones go down the stretch in that final round. That kind of took him out. And then, a player like Paul knows what he has to do to win. And he's just gonna go do it.
He's going to go execute for sure. But it was great. Yeah, he averaged 1045 rated golf all weekend.
Yep.
9 under and 8 under and a 7 under. That's solid golf.
Yeah.
At a course like that.
So good player. Definitely someone, you guys at home, if you've never heard of him, Sully Tipton, someone to keep an eye on as he, in my opinion, will quickly rise the ranks here the next 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And make an impact on more than just a Florida A tier. So.
Yeah, congratulations, Sully and Joey Buckets.
Yeah,
anyone podium finish.
Anyone else you want to shout out from the tournament? You gave Thomas Gilbert a shout out, absolutely well deserved.
Yeah, no, that was the one that I was most excited about was Thomas fighting back because the first couple of rounds didn't go fantastic, certainly not the way he planned, and he fought back from I think he was tied for 8th or 9th going into that final round, and got all the way back up to 4th with an ace on hole 7. So
it's always nice.
Yeah, that's a good way to come down the home stretch.
That'll get you going.
It'll get you juiced up. Yeah, and he actually, I was telling you this earlier, but he almost birdied the entire back 9, and then on the final hole took a bogey. But that's a phenomenal run to fight back to 4th place.
That's huge because, like we said, on a course like that where there are a couple fluky holes, to
get an 8 in a row
run
like
the
that.
the birdies in a row like that is pretty spectacular.
Absolutely. He's a great player. And I know he's one of those guys I feel like probably gets lost in the mix a little bit because there's so many great players in the last few years.
Yep.
And Thomas is never quite, podium at an elite series, but plays solid golf, and he's a really good golfer. So I'm always excited to see him push up there in the top 5.
So that's the throw down the mountain. We get to go a little bit bigger this week. Elite Series stop in Nashville at the Music City Open, which we will talk about here momentarily. But before we do that, I want to give some shout outs for the West Coast Cup, which we have spent plenty of time talking about on the show over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Finally happened.
It did.
And we won't go into too much detail. For you, those of you that are not in the area, you don't really care. But we do want to shout out, the top performers from the weekend.
Sure. And first of all, thanks to everybody who came out.
Absolutely.
It was a great event, I thought. Everything went real smooth. And aside from some inclement weather on the first day, the first 2 rounds, especially the second round, it went off without a hitch. And thanks everybody for coming out.
Absolutely.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yeah, and we look forward to bringing the event back in the future. So
yeah,
stay tuned for that for 2024. But some division winners. Sarah Stern took down the women's field.
She did. I was really happy to see that. I played with her husband on round 2 at Windstrom, and they came up from the Chicago area just to play this. They'd never played either of the 3 courses before. So
that was really cool. Pleasure having you guys.
Yeah.
Sarah was the winner of our giveaway several weeks back.
That's right.
The West Coast Cup Thrasher we gave out.
Raptor, wasn't it?
Oh, not Thrasher or Raptor. It was a Scorch.
Scorch.
We're both wrong.
I hope you used it to win.
She didn't bring it. I talked to her.
Okay, well.
But you still won, so.
Yeah, congratulations on all of the things you won.
In AM3, getting his first win ever, Ross Bosch.
The one and only Ross Bosch.
And it was interesting. You could tell he was potentially a little bit nervous on the tee of hole 1 in that final round, up 3 strokes, and he promptly throws out of bounds. And then on his penalty 3rd shot, after throwing will be on the tee, he throws out of bounds again.
Oh no!
So he had a tough opening hole, and then after 2 holes, finds himself in 2nd.
Okay.
By a stroke, which that's a big shake-up in 2 holes, but he bounced back, got in his groove, and found his first career win. So good for you, Ross. Happy to see that.
And he's had a great year so far. He's gotten a 3rd place, a 2nd place, and now a 1st place. So, yeah, way to go, Ross.
So Ross is climbing up the ranks quickly. In AM2, you were part of quite the battle, and that was cool. Before we talk about that anymore, it was cool to see, everybody was out at the course that day hanging out. All the other divisions that had already finished got to come watch, the events unfold in AM2.
Yeah.
And we had a gallery of 20, 30, maybe 40 people.
Yeah, that was fun.
At the end, and that was really cool. So thanks for all you guys that hung around and cheered the events down the stretch on, because that was cool for me as the TD, but also for the players, which Josh was one of.
I was. Yeah, that was the first time. I guess it wasn't the first time I went to a playoff. It was the 2nd time, but it was a fun playoff. So Ted put up a great fight, and Sam as well. Yes. Both rounds yesterday, and then, both rounds on Saturday, and then the final round on Sunday. The 3 of us were pretty neck and neck the whole time, fighting through the 30-mile-an-hour winds at Windstrom. And, coming down that home stretch, Ted made a great comeback. We went into hole 15. So we also had the alts left yet, right? Yeah. So we had 9 holes left to go.
Holes, yeah.
And I was up 3 strokes.
Yeah.
And he battled back and just never gave up, and had some great shots to make some clutch scoring opportunities. And so we ended up tied at the last hole, and went back to hole 1 and started the circuit again, and got through 5 playoff holes before Ted took it down. And it was a great shot from Ted to put himself within 5-10 feet, and made the birdie, and on one of my Nightmare 18 holes.
Yeah, and that's the best part. So if you go back and watch our Nightmare 18, hole 4 was Shore Acres, and that's where Josh found himself in the playoff, and he actually threw. Did you touch a tree on
I just kissed it.
Okay, but
just
he threw a halfway decent shot. Got himself into circle 2 for sure.
Yep.
And was kind of cut off by a big pine tree for a clear open look for his putt, but so it didn't beat you up too bad. Other than the landing was unfortunate, but yeah, Ted threw a
just
fantastic
missed the putt
shot
by an inch or two, but he had a
off the
great
rim.
shot, and it was congratulations, Ted. I don't know if that was his first win, but it was a good battle and a good win. He doesn't have a PDGA number, so I can't check.
He'll be getting one here soon. And then AM40 first.
Yeah.
Dave Turbo Kleiman.
Yes, by a good margin as well. He won by 7 strokes.
But he was only up by 2, I believe, going into that final round.
Yeah,
so
correct.
He was able to pull away on a course that he knows very well.
That's it. Yep.
But yeah, he coasted down the stretch and was able to secure the win. So
yeah,
good on you, Turbo. And
very
then the overall winner of the West Coast Cup, Mr. Adam Newman, who
got a PDGA number last Wednesday.
Yep.
Just for this tournament.
Yep.
He's one of those guys too that you see him floating around, and he's been around a while.
Yes.
But has never really taken it super seriously. He still doesn't take it seriously. He's just the most casual golfer in the world, and just walks up to the tee pad and throws it like he doesn't even care, and parks every hole. He's a
good player, though.
Great golfer.
And the highlight for him was not winning because he won by several strokes, but it was round 2 when you guys were facing 45-mile-per-hour wind gusts consistently throughout the round. Just absolutely nightmare conditions. Nobody shoots under par except Adam, who then turns in a 10-24 rated round.
It's insane.
It's crazy. The wind was ridiculous.
Yeah, and it got just about everybody.
Yeah. So those are your shout-outs for the West Coast Cup. I had fun running it.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to see everybody playing it. Thanks to all you guys that were a part of that.
I hope it becomes an annual event.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right.
So check us next
Bigger fish to fry now. The Music City Open, the Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series, returns this week after a few weeks of hiatus, I guess. And Lone Star Disc is once again the presenting sponsor, which they've been the presenting sponsor multiple tournaments in a row now, which...
Yeah, they're really gobbling up.
They're digging in.
Monopolizing the tournaments this year so far.
But Music City Open, big thing. This course has been in play for, I think, 2 or 3 years now. It's a property that they installed a course on, temp course on. Yep. A couple years ago, and the Nashville guys were really excited about it. They're still excited about it, and they've continued to tweak it based on feedback, which is what you and I like to see a lot of each year. So each year it's gotten better. They got ripped on a lot the first year for it just being kind of a Heiser Fest chip shot thing, and the rough being absolutely nasty. The rough is still pretty nasty, but it's thinned out a little bit, and they have made some good changes to the course. But Mill Ridge, hilly, wind comes into play, but very, very open for the most part. They use tree bunkers and kind of groves very well to protect greens, but a lot of the tee shots have a lot of air to work with, but you still have to hit precise landing zones to score here. So
it's one of my favorite ones to watch every year.
Yeah, it's fun. You get to see the disc fly, and it's not like... you and I have our gripes about golf courses, ball golf courses, but in the same sense, on those courses, you do get to see the shots move in the air, and that's nice to see once in a while as well. So on a real course,
when it's done well,
it's good. So I'm excited for the event. Who should the people at home be looking out for? Who is Josh Wood picking?
Who am I? Are we going to picks
Let's
already?
go to picks.
How can you vote against Kelvin? I've got Kelvin.
You really can't.
I know. So... All right, am I going first today?
Yep, you're going first today because the last couple weeks you've stolen my picks.
All right, so first place is going to be Kelvin, just because he's Kelvin.
And he hasn't finished off the podium this year.
He has not finished off the podium this year. And you said it earlier, and I agree with you. I think he's one of the greatest golfers in the world.
I think he's the best player in the world right now.
Yeah.
I don't think there's I mean, there's argument, obviously, but
Sure. But he's good.
he's quite good.
He's good, and I'm not going to root against him or vote against him. So
Fair enough.
I am going out on a limb with picking Ricky for number 2.
That is risky business, Josh.
It's a little bit risky right now. He hasn't really established himself back in the tour or shown us that his wrist is okay or that he's even going to be there. So that's a little risky, but I'm going for it.
All right, Ricky in second.
Third place, I got Kyle Klein. I think he's been playing some fantastic golf this year already.
Yes, he has.
He's really been showing up. We know he's been putting in the work for years. He's a great golfer all the way around, but he's really been proving it, I think, on the tour so far this year. And even last year, he had some great showings. And then Simon. I think, again, with some of these open shots and longer shots, Simon's got a real advantage if he can hold it together.
It's a good pick.
Take it seriously for 3 rounds. I think he could do really well.
It's a good pick.
Thanks. FPO. I'm going to go with Paige.
All right.
This is going to be tough because I don't know if we've mentioned this yet, but out of 6 events, well, there have been 4 on tour, but 6 main events that we've seen already this year, there have been 6 different winners.
Yeah.
So picking Paige, who has already won one this year, might be a little risky. But
yeah, the parity is strong right now in the FPO field.
It really is. It really is. So I'm going with Paige, then Kristen, because I like them easy points. And then Missy for third place, Missy Gannon, one of my favorite FPO players, and I always root for her. And then I'm going with Holland Handley for fourth place. She's my wild card. I've never picked her before, I don't think.
I don't think it's much a wild card. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, thanks.
So I'm proud of you for that one.
Thanks. I really
okay.
wanted to pick Evelina. But I'm going with Holland. It's final. Locked in.
Done. All right. Over to me.
Who do you got?
Chris Dickerson is the hometown boy
from
Tennessee. We haven't heard much from him this year.
Yeah, that's why I don't pick him.
If anything, I think he locks back in and wins this event and shows us that he is indeed a top 5 player in the world.
Okay.
So Chris Dickerson brings this one home. I find it very hard to pick against Calvin Heimberg, and I'm going to put him in second.
Mm-hmm.
And then James Conrad, who has historically played very well at the Music City Open, is going to take the podium as well in third place.
I like that pick.
And then my fourth is just a complete wild card.
Paul McBeth.
6-time world champion Paul McBeth.
Okay, we'll see if he can step up this week and play some golf.
and finally deliver a performance. No, that's not risky at all, but I do think Paul's going to have a good week.
Yeah.
So, fourth place for Paul McBeth. On the FBO side, easy money, as you said, Kristen Tatar. I do think, like you said, it is a little risky, right? We've had a different winner every week, but it's really not that risky. She's going to finish on the podium. Kristen wins this one. Katrina Allen takes second. I think the open air plays well to her game, and she's going to be able to push up the fairway quite far.
You're not wrong.
Put herself in position. Another long thrower, Haley King. I'm going to give her third, and I'm still waiting for Haley to break through this year and put up that stalwart performance, I guess.
That we
That's how
all know
I'll phrase
she can.
it. Yeah, she's got the skills. She just got to do it now. I think she's gonna flirt with the top of the leaderboard and ultimately finish in third.
Okay.
And then my wild card will be Kat Murch.
I like that. Oh, I like a couple of your picks. I'm not going to take them, but they're people that I enjoy watching play well. I like Kat. She's one of my favorite FPO players too.
She's a good player, and again, kind of like Haley, just waiting for the breakthrough moment.
Yeah.
Where
everything
she shows up.
And
it only needs to happen at one event to just get everything rolling. So hopefully she can pull that off in Nashville this weekend.
Okay.
Anything the people at home should be watching that you're excited to watch about the tournament at all?
You just put me on the spot there.
I know.
No, not really.
Okay.
I'm just looking to watch some good disc golf.
Yes.
I hope everybody plays well and it's not a disaster.
We don't need another disaster. All right, so discussion topic to round out the show this week. this is a topic that was brought up and discussed on Leppy Duels last week. So this from this past weekend. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch that, definitely go do that as well. Even pause this video, go watch that, or at least that segment, and come back and listen to us, because what we're going to say is kind of based off of that a little bit. But the question was, what should be the standard for Disc Golf Pro Tour courses and new course additions to the tour? That was kind of the question that the panelists were asked, and they had their own thoughts and theories and ideas to go off of that. But I'm going to ask you the same question to start off our discussion here. What should be the standard for adding a new course to the Pro Tour?
That's a very big question.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of things.
What comes to mind first and second for you?
Oh, man.
Since you have more than a minute to talk, unlike the Leppy Duels panelists.
Yeah, but they get time to prepare an answer. You just told me about this a half an hour ago. One of the first things that comes into my mind is distance. I think it needs to be X number of feet long in order to be considered for tour.
Okay.
Man, yeah, there's so many things that go into running a good event like that. It's not just about feet. It's not even just about the course. I mean, there's a lot of logistics you have to think about. There's parking you have to think about. There's, man, I don't know. What do you think?
What do I think?
I mean, they already have some standards, right?
Yes.
If you go to the PDGA website,
they have footage. They say you need cell signal. They say all these things,
okay.
But at the end of the day, here's my first little nugget on this.
Okay.
At the end of the day, the Pro Tour is the one who approves or disapproves if a course or event is going to make their tour, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm running an event and my course is close to the footage, right?
Yeah.
Just, we'll say 200 feet short.
Okay.
I'm going to make a temporary layout, right, basket, and get that 200 feet because I want to be on tour. That's the whole reason I've been pushing so hard to make my event what it is and the course what it is, so I can get on tour. I'm going to tell them, right? I look at my phone. I have 4 bars. I'm going to tell them I have cell signal, right? It's not like I have a big X and I don't have any bars.
Sure.
I have signal. We can get your live coverage out here. And all the other check marks. Hey, we have these amenities, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to push hard because I want my event to be on the tour. So at the end of the day, the Pro Tour is the one that approves it or not.
Yeah.
So if they just look at my list, they check it off, they kind of do some light research and go, yeah, what he says checks out. He can extend this course 200 feet and make it fulfill that requirement.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll look at a cell coverage map and it checks out. He has service there. But the answer is they don't truly know until they get out here.
Sure.
And that's my issue, and what maybe you guys at home haven't seen, but what I've been able to see and deduct myself, they don't check these things until later. So they approve an event, they set up their whole schedule, people sign up for the event, and then they go out there and they check. Or they go out there and they say, hey, we want to make this tweak to your course. We want to make that tweak to your course.
Yeah.
Well, then why did you approve the event?
Yeah.
Why did you approve that course?
So there's something that happened recently that kind of spurred this, right? What was the...
It's happened multiple times, but yeah.
What was the one that we were talking about a month or two ago that precipitated this whole discussion a little bit?
Yeah, so the Cascade Challenge it's in Washington State, up in the Pacific Northwest. It was scheduled to be at Kayak Point, which is a beautiful disc golf resort. I believe it's got at least 2 courses.
Okay.
I might be wrong on that, but it's a nice property with a gorgeous layout, and they've put a ton of time into it, making it special.
Yeah.
End of last year, end of 2022, Pro Tour announces their schedule. I think it was November, maybe. They actually added the Cascade Challenge with, if you remember, they added like 3 or 4 Silver Series events, like a month later in like November.
Yeah.
Then the schedule opens, right, for registration.
Yep.
People
Everybody
signs
up.
Everybody's
makes
locked
their reservations for their hotels probably.
Yep. And then it comes out. I spoke to the Cascade Challenge tournament director in January. It comes out, hey, the Pro Tour actually pulled the event. Like, they're not doing it anymore. And I was like, why? And he had no idea, is what he told me. Whether that was true or not, the fact of the matter is it got pulled. Then in mid-February, kind of buried down by some other releases by the Pro Tour, they released, you can go back and look at the press release on their website, but they released kind of under the radar that, hey, the Cascade Challenge is still happening, right? Because all these people are registered. We don't want to just yank it entirely. So we actually moved it 30 to 40 minutes away so that, you know, the registrations and the
hotels,
the reservations for the hotels, like you said, are still viable. We actually moved it over to this place, which is a well-kept-up course by the Mason County Disc Golf Organization, which, by the way, is a fantastic organization in Washington, do a ton of work. So that part of the story is not falsified at all.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this course will be good too, at least I hope. But the point is, come to find out that they finally went out to Kayak Point for the first time
in January.
And realized that the cell signal was not up to what they wanted it to be. It was close, but not exactly what they wanted. And this course 40 minutes away provided what they wanted. So that's why they pulled it. And for me, right, the Pro Tour has their standards.
Yeah.
They need the cell coverage. Great.
Absolutely.
I'm all for it. Stick to your guns. However, why on planet Earth was this not figured out before you approved the event?
Yeah.
That's an embarrassment.
Absolutely. I would think that one of the first things you would do before approving any event would be to go visit the course.
You would think.
And make sure everything checks out. Make sure nothing drastic needs to be done at the last minute. Because this was kind of something we were talking about in regard to Waco as well, right? Trying to throw a course together at the last minute.
Austin,
I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, that's exactly it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, they picked this property, but they had no logistical stuff figured out until weeks before the event.
Yeah. Which I think at that time we said this sort of thing needs to be locked down months in advance.
Yep.
Certainly the layout needs to be figured out months in advance. But, this sort of logistical stuff with cell signals, is there enough parking and amenities for everybody? Like you said, you can fill out an application and check boxes and say, yeah, we've got all that stuff. But you'd think somebody would be there to verify it before it comes together, which I guess brings me to one of the points in regard to what do you do to fix this. And we were talking about a lot of these events. Was it Brian Frawley that was talking about how any of these events should run an A tier first and then move up to a silver series and then an elite series. But in these stages where, again, if you decide, oh, hey, we want to make the West Coast Cup, even though it's amateur only, we want to make that an elite series. Well, you can go back and see, well, when they ran it as an A tier, this is what happened. This is what they had when they ran the silver series. You know, there should be steps to get there so that things can be checked out instead of trying to throw a course together for the first time ever for a tour stop.
Yeah. I think that's the risk.
It should be a somewhat established course over the course of a couple of years where they can prove their mettle.
Yeah. Yeah. I think even this past 2 weeks ago, Texas States, where they had, that was right after Austin. They threw together a course and they had it checked. We had talked about this. They had checked. They'd run a couple of tester events.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's still, like, that falls into what we're talking about. It's the same category. To me, if you're going to run a big event at that course, at that location, Texas States is an event, right? It's been run well for decades. However, you're in a brand new location, brand new course. The same standards need to apply, I think, to the event, right? The event checks out. Yes, they know how to run their tournament. They know how to get people in. They know how to advertise and market and run a smooth event. However, the course does not. It's not broken in yet. I don't care if you've run test events. that helps.
That's
right?
part of it.
That helps a ton. However, that needs to be an A tier course.
Yep.
And then it needs to be a Silver Series course. I think Brian was completely onto it.
Yeah.
That there needs to be a step ladder, a prove it ladder, right, for the tournament staff and the event, but also like
earn your right to run an elite series.
And give yourself room to have feedback from the top players and prove that the top players want to come back, right? If it's an A tier on a course that you think is great, but then you get these, A tiers are going to bring in at least somebody that is quality, a handful that's quality, and they're going to have their thoughts. And if you come back next year and you refuse to change anything, and they actually had legitimate concerns, they're going to tell other people.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to come to, like, not nobody, but less people are going to want to come to your event. And that's where moving up to the Silver Series kind of proves, hey, is this event growing? Are more people interested in being here? And then if the answer is no, then no, you don't get to move up to an Elite Series.
Well, and I think, too, and I'm sure there's a lot that goes into this that we don't understand, right? I've never run a tour before yet.
Oh, boy.
But
it's coming, I guess.
But I don't think it should be an application where, in 2022, I'm signing up and applying for a 2023 tournament. I think it should be a 2 or 3 year process well, especially if it's a new course, if it's something that's never been run before, so that they can come out and the tour can come out while you're running your A tier.
Yes.
And see.
Great point.
How things are flowing and what amenities do we have and what would change if instead of, 5 pros, we had 25 pros here.
And they can talk to the players without
and they
being
can talk
attached
to the
to the tournament.
And so they do that 1 year and then maybe a second year and then it moves up to a silver so they can grow with it and kind of help make it what it is with plenty of time to work all those little bugs out if there are any.
And I think that's the key aspect here, time to work the bugs out. Because like we saw with the Open at Austin, it was a well-run event. Logistically speaking, the Pro Tour generally does well with that. However, the course got ripped on.
Yeah.
And we predicted that would happen.
Yep.
Because it was laid out for you. It was pretty obvious that there was going to be some concerns. And sure enough, there were concerns. Set up to fail.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
But I think that's one thing, again, the Pro Tour does a good job of running their events and marketing and all the other things except their coverage. But I lost my train of thought. One thing they don't seem to do well with is patience and taking the long look when it comes to all the coverage stuff I've talked about that I complain about, the live coverage, and when it comes to these courses, they just want to quick throw something together all of a sudden rather than take the time to mold it and grow it and shape it into what it could be.
Yeah, I think that those are fair points. So to kind of round up this question here, I do want, if you haven't watched Leppy Duels, go watch it. But Brian brought up an interesting point in his initial statement, which was, how about a tiered system like English football, where you've got the Premier League, which would be equivalent to the Elite Series. You've got the English Championship, which is the second tier league, which is the equivalent of the Silver Series. And you've got Football League 1 below that, and then Football League 2 below that. But those would be the A tier and the B tier. So why can't the Pro Tour set up something where, somehow there's a voting system with the players and the TDs, and I don't know if you want to bring
I don't totally understand football over there on the other side of the pond. But so what you're saying is, by way of example, Music City Open happens this weekend.
People hate it.
The players don't like playing there.
The event runs with a bunch of bumps.
People don't enjoy watching it, so the fans aren't super happy. So next year it might not be even on the Pro Tour. Maybe it'll be an A tier.
No, it would
but
be
at least bumped down.
Yeah, it would be moved down to something.
Yeah. Yes, it'd be moved down.
And then there would be a hole on the Pro Tour and they would then take a silver series that went really smooth and people loved and people wanted to play again, and they would move that up into the elite series for the following season.
And then give some A tier somewhere a chance to fill that silver spot.
Yeah. Yep.
Just see if they can prove their mettle.
Yeah.
That's the word of the day, mettle.
So kind of always fluctuating. However,
yeah,
you brought up a nice counterpoint to that, which was what?
There are a lot of stops that are just stalwart. That's not the right word, but, we have some Augustas of disc golf that I think should just be standards on the tour.
That just
Maple
because
Hill,
they had a bad year, right? And something went horribly wrong, that they don't deserve to be demoted.
So there should be a few pillars. There should maybe be 4 or 5 throughout the year that are sort of untouchable. And again, I'm thinking stuff like Maple Lawn.
Maple Hill?
Did I say Maple Lawn?
Maple Lawn,
That's
too. Maple Lawn is the new up-and-coming...
That's an apartment complex down the street, I think. There's a lot of Maple Lawn things around here in West Michigan. But Maple Hill. Maple Hill, Ledgestone. These are ones that every year I think should be pillars of the tour. I'm not going to say Las Vegas, but...
How about D-Glow? Is that a pillar? It's only been on the Pro Tour for
no, I don't think it
4
is.
years now.
I enjoy watching it, and I'm probably biased because it's in Michigan. But no, I don't think that's a pillar. I don't think D-Glow is a pillar of the tour.
Any other pillars?
Probably. I'll think of them later.
Okay. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. Pillars of the Pro Tour.
Pillars of the Pro Tour.
And which events we would like to see moved.
Okay.
All right. That wraps up the show. Stay tuned for our discussion topic next week, which we may have just teased to you.
Maybe.
But other than that, have a great week.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend. If you're playing any tournaments in your area, good luck at those. The weather around here looks great and improved from this past weekend.
Yeah, it should be
so if you're in Michigan
great
playing
weekend for disc golf.
Get outside, enjoy the weather, and other than that, we got nothing else for you.
No, like, share, subscribe, make a comment down below. Feel free to give us some feedback from today's show or topics to talk about in the future. And we'll see you next week. And until then, keep your head in the game.